I would like to address the issue of the suppressed inner child. And I feel particularly qualified to speak on this subject because I know suppression, personal experience covering decades, but I also feel qualified in terms of the work that I've done in creating a book called Listening to the Cries of Your Heart, published about 3 years ago. And in the recent year, in the last year, I have worked with inner children in the MAP program. MAP, manifest your all possibilities. Manifest all possibilities. In this particular program, the MAP program, a lot of the work is about neutralizing negative memories, negative emotions of the inner child, the parts that were created to deal with trauma. So let's start at the beginning of the story. All adults, every human being experiences some kind of separation early in life. And it can be very obvious where mother disappeared or a sibling was born a couple of years after you and your life changed, or someone became ill or died in the family, which would create such a disturbance that the young child will feel bewildered and neglected for the time of tragedy. Or it may come from really dysfunctional parents not ready to have children, or having children not having the temperament to deal with children. So they behave badly, are angry, and may be violent and abusive. It could be any number of these things. It could be being adopted, being separated from the birth mother. Whatever the trauma is, each of us experience feeling separate from what we knew before, which was such total comfort, safety, having our cares met, that there was no independent self before then, really. So, what happens when trauma occurs? The young parts get created to deal with the pain, with the fears that come up, feeling they're left on their own, they're abandoned, being angry, having just a huge protest of no out into the universe. No, this is not what I need, not what I want. Feeling the loss of connection and feeling really sad, possibly. So these are the general feelings that come up: anger, fears, grief. And they can arise for the adult in subtle and clear ways so that the inner child is seen as being rejected, despondent, or angry, very disturbed when in any situation, be it on the job or in relationship, where rejection or abandonment occurs. It could be losing your position and downsizing. It could be being fired. It could be a friend just dropped you, or in romantic relationships, someone calling an end to the relationship. In any case, what was before, some sense of security, connection, gets disturbed, and these kinds of events touch the inner child. So that's the general story. What happens with suppression? Suppression is a psychologically described mechanism where you bury, or with repression, push feelings aside, push memory away, so you don't have to be overwhelmed or think about it. You can't be bothered. When suppression occurs early on, when the young child parts really bury the pain and these negative emotions in their heart, the young inner child is basically suppressed. And the only way you can tell if they're there is when the adult becomes triggered. Triggered, as I said before, in forms of anger, forms of fear, forms of grief. So if you suppressed or repressed these responses or these memories of these events, you would probably think, I had a happy childhood. No childhood woundings. Nothing like that happened to me. Even if they would not admit to having a happy childhood, they certainly would not acknowledge the very painful events that occurred when they were too young to really be able to deal with it. So it becomes the adult, your responsibility to check to see whether a suppressed inner child is the cause, the source of your unhappiness, your lack of success in relationship or in career or in the world. The experience would also be found in any kind of struggling, chronic struggling to move ahead, or feeling conflicted when you make a decision and try to go forward. You procrastinate, you worry, you get paralyzed. And the reason for this is, despite the adult personalities taking action, setting goals, they experience a kind of paralysis. I've been working with one person just this past week who knew that something was up coming from her past, because she had these incredible projects that she had put together that could be immensely successful in business. But no matter how many times she would put projects like this together, she could never quite seal the deal. And when we began to work on what was there, she found all these experiences of getting the message that she was not of value. So with that belief running underground, of course, she couldn't confidently move forward, because this doubt would be eating at her confidence and her enthusiasm. Because from very early on, she learned that her sister was more important, that how she was treated with hand-me-downs and the intolerance of any expression. She learned the belief, or acquired the belief, or created the belief that she was not of value. She was to be invisible. So this is some of the ways in which suppressed trauma, suppressed inner child could be the source of the answers to your stuckness. And if you do a lot of suppression, this is likely to happen. Now, my story. When I was in grade 7, or 8, I had 2 major events happen to me. One was that I was betrayed by my friends who decided that I wasn't treating a really popular, likable friend properly. So they prevented me from connecting with her by phone or physically in school. They would run interference. Shortly after that, they tried me after school and found me guilty. Now, ordinarily, one would be hugely upset about something like this. But since I had learned to suppress anger and that kind of upsetness, I just moved on. I was a recently converted Christian and decided forgiveness was the best road. In the same year, a group of us were identified as being gifted. So in an experimental program, the counselor advanced us a grade. We skipped a grade. That meant leaving all my friends behind. And so I, a Japanese American, good daughter, good student, I didn't want that. And I asked my parents to please stop this, but they said no. And again, it took a lot for me to make such a request, but I quietly accepted the decision. Now, through the process of dealing with my inner children, I learned what price that paid these 2 events and the suppression of anger, because I went through high school and college in a fog with hardly not even half of my mental abilities available to get through classes. And there was so much suppression that I didn't seem to care. The night before assignments were due, I didn't seem to care. Somehow I made it through, but in this half a brain, half a heart state, I went through the next several decades of my life. And then in my first marriage, after 6 years, another betrayal and another suppression of anger. So I know the cost of anger, the cost of suppressing anger. You need your anger. You need to be aware of your feelings. So suppression and repression is not a good idea. They just create a huge wall around your heart. So your heart is not there to inform you of the choices you make. You run into walls and it doesn't affect you. You make poor choices and you don't quite get it. If your heart didn't have that wall of protection, you would feel the pain of all of that and could do something. So that's my personal story on why suppression and repression is a bad idea. And if you see, experience, and notice the cries of the heart, which come in being triggered in anger, fears, and grief, you will have the clues and what you need to begin to heal and do inner child work. My book, Listen to the Cries of Your Heart, outlines the method that I used to use and I've expanded on. Currently, I have the protocol of the MAP system, Manifest All Possibility, to help with the memories and negativity from painful experience, especially those that occurred between 5 and 6. These methods are amazing in how quickly they neutralize and release negativity in beliefs, strategies, and the actual feelings, so that you have comprehensive, quick, and deep way to take care of your take care and heal the wounds that come from childhood. So please contact me if you have questions, and I can certainly clarify more about this topic, about the importance of the suppressed inner child and how you can begin to make contact and help the inner child heal. Thank you.